Alright, I know nobody cares about this, but I know I said there was going to be a North American Saturn game, Sega Saturn game in this episode, but, you know, some other things came that were more important, and I'm going to talk about them, like an Atari 2600, you know, about time I've got an Atari system. This is actually the Atari 2600 Junior, which came out in 1984. The original wood grain model came out in 1977. You know, and I wanted to get like the Woody model, you know, that model, but like found this for a good price, and you know, this will probably work better because, you know, it's obviously a more recent model of the system. You know, it came with its controller, which you know, I'm not the biggest fan of. You know, you basically like hold onto here and then like move with that. Not the best, but it is nice that you can use a Sega Genesis controller with it. And yeah, I got some games. Yeah, only 5, I know, but whatever, that'll change, because, you know, Atari 2600 games. Here's the thing about the 2600. It's home to some of the most common and some of the most rare fucking games of all time. But anyways, let's talk about them. Donkey Kong. I'm very happy to have this. You know, it's pretty cool to own. But even so, it only has like 2 levels. It doesn't have the second level with like the spring going like, what up, wah. If you know. I'm assuming that level's not there because maybe it's too hard for the 2600 to process or something. But other than that, it's just kind of a port. Nothing horribly wrong with it, but it's like, you know. It's also interesting because it actually has the pins exposed, unlike other 2600 games. Space Invaders, which this is now the oldest game I own. It's from 1978. And what can you say about Space Invaders? It's a classic, and you know, I really didn't own Space Invaders beforehand. I mean, I did play it before, but I really didn't own it, so it's great to have this. And you know, Space Invaders is a hell of a lot of fun. You know, even though you can only shoot like 1 bullet at a time, I still enjoy it. You know, it's a game that doesn't age really. Video Pinball. Well, it's pinball. It's a game I definitely can't play with this because it requires you to like move the thing left and right to move the paddles, so that's why with this game I always play it with a Genesis controller. And yes, I did mention this last episode, but you know, hey, I'm mentioning it again, so now that I've actually, you know, played it, you know, yeah. I don't really like how they go that way. I wish they went like that way so you could see the label, but whatever. E.T., a game that I've owned for quite some time. I think I've owned this since like 2012, 2011, really. And yeah, it's definitely worse than I thought it would be. Is it the worst game of all time? No, but goddamn, it really does suck. Oh boy, and you know, obviously this is a very infamous sort of game, and for good reason, because yeah, it's not good, not even really fun at all, especially considering that if you know what you're doing, you can actually beat this game in under like 6 minutes, just still fucking not a good game. And Real Sports Volleyball, which I picked up on the recommendation, well, not really recommendation, of the good old Angry Video Game Nerd when he talked about this in his Atari Sports video. And besides, I didn't own any volleyball games, and yeah, this is a pretty decent one, you know, hey. But yeah, I'm very happy to own a 2600. Hopefully one day I'll own a Lynx, a 7800, and maybe even a Jaguar. So yeah, very cool to have. Alright, now let's talk about some portable games. Here we have Dracula Crazy Vampire on the Game Boy Color. A game that, again, I've been trying to hunt down because of AVGN when he talked about this in his Dracula video. In fact, actually I think AVGN was the first person on YouTube, if not the internet, to upload gameplay footage of this game back in 2009. And, well, I don't know whether to call this game good or bad. It's more confusing in where the hell do I go than anything. Because, you know, I know in, like, the first level you were supposed to find, like, a potion for some, like, witch or something. And I actually did beat one of the levels, but I had to use a password system to get to that level, and then, in turn, beat the level. And, yeah. You know, this game's been out longer than, like... Hold on, let me get it right here. This game came out in 2001, and it's been out longer than this game right here. But obviously this game is better and way the hell more popular. But still, it's like, come on, you know. I want to see like a walkthrough character or something for this game. But whatever, Dracula Crazy Vampire. And here we have a Japanese Game Gear game. You know, I haven't gotten a Game Gear game in about a year, I think, actually. I could be wrong, but regardless, you know, like, still got some Game Gear games. This one, I'm not... It's Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon S. At least that's what it is translated to English, I believe. Because I believe it's like Bisoju Sensei Sailor Moon S, or whatever the hell. I really should have looked that up. But regardless, it's a Sailor Moon game for the Game Gear. And, well, it's basic, but it looked interesting enough for me to actually, like, buy this thing. And it's cool to have a Japanese Game Gear game that isn't a soccer game, which is the only other one I own. But, yeah, you know, a decent game. You know, you can play as either Rini or Serena, I think. Yeah, I've not watched Sailor Moon. I don't know, maybe I will. But a decent game, you know, music's actually pretty good, too. Yeah, good purchase. I'm grateful to own another Japanese Game Gear game. And here we have Sonic Triple Trouble, which I believe I've said this before, but this is my favorite 8-bit Sonic game of all time, out of all the Game Gear, and just 8-bit games in general. I think this is the best one. You know, it just got, like, the best level design, in my opinion. The music's not as good as, say, like, Sonic Blast or Sonic Chaos, but it's still really good, and just overall, this is, like, just a really good game. Although, you know, I really wish the Triple Trouble thing was, like, Triple Trouble for both the good and the bad. Like, the reason why they call it Triple Trouble is because there's 3 main villains. Dr. Robotnik, Fang the Sniper, or in this case, or Knack the Weasel, whatever the fuck you want to call him, and Knuckles the Echidna. But I really wish it was Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles versus, say, Eggman or Robotnik, whatever. Robotnik, Fang, and Metal Sonic, because believe it or not, Metal Sonic is actually in this game. He appears, like, before you fight Eggman in the final level. But, you know, regardless, still a very, very cool game, and probably my favorite Game Gear game, actually. Not just my favorite 8-bit Sonic game. What else? Yeah, Pilot Wings on Super Nintendo. The first Super Nintendo game I've gotten all year, actually. Because Super Nintendo prices are fucking, like, high as hell. And, I thought, you know, might as well get this. It's a, you know, series I hardly delved into, and this is pretty cool, although I'll admit it, you know, Pilot Wings 64 looks way the fuck better, and I'm not just saying that, like, for example, I could say, like, say with Star Fox, you know, like, Star Fox 64 is a better game, but I still really do enjoy this one. But honestly, I think, you know, Pilot Wings 64 will, like, just completely blow this out of the water, more so than Star Fox 64 blows this out of the water. Yeah. But regardless, still cool to have. I do really like this skydiving one where you have to land on a target. You know, just a really cool game, and, you know, it was cool to show off the power of the Super Nintendo back when this came out, because I believe this was a launch title for the system. NES, sure, why not? Kid Icarus, something I'm pretty happy to have. I've actually had this since March, actually. I'm just showing it now. It's definitely the most I've ever spent on an 8-bit game. Like, this was $32 with, like, tax and shipping and all that. So yeah, it wasn't really cheap, but, you know, because it's a first-party Nintendo game that's in demand, and, you know, I could have got it on the Virtual Console, but no, I want the physical release. But anyways, yeah. Speaking of physical and digital, there are some digital games we'll talk about next episode. But anyways, Kid Icarus itself, hard? Yeah, it is hard, but, I actually really do really like this game. This game is way better than I thought it would be. I mean, I don't see myself beating it, but, you know, I do like the climbing levels, the ground levels, whatever the fuck it was called, basically the levels after, like, 1-4, I don't remember what it was called, but those levels are cool, but, like, you know, wow, this is, I mean, yeah, it's hard, but this is still a really, really fun game, and probably might be my favorite Kid Icarus, because I don't have that much interest of Myths and Monsters and Uprising, but, this is, yeah, this is damn fine game. I don't regret spending, like, $32 on it at all. And, yeah, you know, I don't know much else to say, you know. game controls well. Just overall, a really good game. I do really like Kid Icarus. And, you know, it's definitely one of those classic NES titles I had more interest in than, say, like, you know, Metroid or Legend of Zelda. Because I'm not really into the Metroid or Zelda games, but, you know, this game still, you know, caught my interest, and as a result, I now own it, and I'm very happy to. Another NES game here, Solstice, yeah. Happy to have this, especially in the box, too. It's not a very expensive game, but still cool to have. The game itself is, well, it's an isometric game, and I've been kind of wanting it for some time because I saw a GameSack review of it on their Frustrating Games episode. So I went ahead and, you know, looked on eBay. It wasn't expensive, but I did say, fuck it, let's get it in the box, and I did. The game itself, as you can see, is like a isometric game where, this fucking camera, where basically you just like solve certain puzzles to get like items and then move on to the next room. There's a lot of rooms in this game, and this game really does need like a continue feature, or at least like a password system. There might be like a Game Genie code, but I do not own a Game Genie, so yeah, there you have it. But you know, definitely a nice little like hidden gem for the NES. Yeah, really good game. Solstice is fun. I like Solstice. How about a Dreamcast game? Revolt. Yeah. It's also on the N64 and the PS1, but I wanted the Dreamcast version because why not? It's probably the best version, actually. And while this game can get pretty like fucking aggravating at times, you know, because sometimes the course design is just dumb. It actually is kind of a pretty cool little fighting game. You know, or not fighting game, racing game. Fucking god. Anyways, but yeah, you basically just drive some RC cars and stuff like that. You know, yeah. I mean, granted, it is kind of annoying because there are times where I like just, you know, find myself flipped over and then I have to press the Y button to recover, and that just wastes so much time. But it is, you know, it's cool to have another Dreamcast game, one that I also want, and it's also 4 players, because, you know, again, I gotta get used out of all those 4 Dreamcast controllers, but, hey. Cool little game, but, you know, kind of annoying as shit at times. You know what, I'll save the next 2 for next episode, which will come soon. Really, really soon.